Daddy, please don't marry Miss Victoria.
Daddy, please don't marry Miss Victoria. The trembling voice of 8-year-old Zoey Harrison echoed through the magnificent ballroom, silencing nearly 200 guests in an instant. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. A live orchestra stopped playing. Every eye turned toward the little girl standing in the center of the room, dressed in a beautiful ivory party dress, her tiny hands shaking. At the front of the ballroom stood Ethan Harrison, one of Atlanta's most respected black millionaires. Beside him stood his elegant girlfriend Victoria Steele, wearing a breathtaking emerald evening gown and a confident smile that slowly faded. "What did you say?" Ethan asked quietly. Zoey swallowed hard. "I said, please don't marry Miss Victoria." A wave of whispers spread across the room. Victoria forced herself to smile. "Sweetheart," she said gently, kneeling before the little girl, "this isn't the right time for such a conversation." Zoey stepped backward. "No, because if I wait, Daddy won't believe me anymore." Ethan frowned. "Zoey." His voice was calm but firm. "We'll discuss this at home." The little girl shook her head. "No." Tears filled her eyes. "I have to tell you now." Victoria reached toward Zoey's shoulder. "It's okay. She's only confused." Zoey quickly pulled away. "I'm not confused." Her tiny voice cracked. "I don't want you to be my mother." The ballroom became so quiet that even the clinking of glasses stopped. Victoria looked embarrassed. "Ethan." She's still grieving her mother. But Zoey looked directly at her father. "I already know who should be my mother." Ethan stared at his daughter. "And who is that?" Without saying another word, Zoey slowly turned toward the banquet staff standing along the wall. Among them stood a young maid wearing a simple black and white uniform. She froze when she realized everyone was looking at her. Her name was Naomi Brooks. She had only worked for the Harrison family for 6 months. She lowered her eyes immediately. "Sir, I think there has been some misunderstanding." But Zoey ran across the ballroom. She wrapped both arms around Naomi's waist. Then she looked back at her father. "Daddy, I want Miss Naomi." The guests gasped. Naomi's face turned pale. "No, sweetheart," Naomi whispered softly. "Please don't say things like that." "But it's true." Zoey held her hand tighter. "You take care of me when I'm scared. You help me when nobody notices. You always keep your promises." Fresh tears rolled down the little girl's cheeks. "You already love me like a mother." Victoria's smile disappeared completely. She turned toward Ethan. "You can't seriously let this continue." But Ethan couldn't answer. His daughter had never looked at him with so much desperation. Zoey wiped her tears. Then she said the words that shook everyone in the room. "Miss Victoria smiles when you're watching. But Miss Naomi is kind even when nobody is looking." Silence. No one dared to breathe. Naomi gently knelt beside Zoey. "Pi dear. You shouldn't compare people." Zoey looked into her eyes. "I'm not comparing. I'm telling the truth." Victoria's face flushed with anger. "Ethan, this is becoming humiliating." Before Ethan could respond, his mother, Evelyn Harrison, slowly rose from her chair. Her calm voice carried across the ballroom. "Perhaps. Children sometimes notice things adults are too busy to see." Victoria's expression hardened. "Evelyn, surely you don't believe." "I didn't say I believed anything," Evelyn interrupted gently. "I only believe that a child doesn't cry this hard without a reason." Ethan looked from Victoria to Naomi, and finally to his daughter. For the first time in months, doubt entered his heart. 8 years before the unforgettable night in the ballroom, Ethan Harrison stood outside the delivery room, unable to stand still. His expensive suit was wrinkled from hours of pacing. His hands trembled as every passing second felt like a lifetime. He and his wife, Amara Harrison, had waited years for this day. Their daughter was finally coming into the world. The delivery room doors suddenly opened. A doctor stepped out, his face heavy with sorrow. "Mr. Harrison." Ethan rushed forward. "My wife. Is she all right?" The doctor's silence answered before his words did. "Your daughter survived. But we couldn't save your wife." The world seemed to stop. Ethan stared blankly. "No." The doctor lowered his head. "We did everything we could. A tiny cry echoed from the nursery nearby. The nurse gently placed a newborn baby into Ethan's shaking arms. She had a head full of soft curls and tiny fingers wrapped tightly around his thumb. "This is your daughter." Ethan looked at the little girl through tears. She looked so much like Amara that it almost broke him. He kissed her forehead. "You were supposed to meet your mother today." His voice cracked. "She wanted to hold you." He looked toward the closed delivery room door. "I promised her we'd raise you together," he said. He was standing alone. The funeral took place 3 days later. Hundreds of people came to honor Amara. Business leaders, family friends, church members, employees whose lives she had quietly changed. Everyone spoke about her kindness, but no speech eased Ethan's pain. That evening, after the guests left, he sat alone in the nursery. Baby Zoey slept peacefully in her crib. Ethan hadn't slept since the hospital. His mother, Evelyn, entered quietly. She placed a warm cup of tea beside him. "You cannot stay awake every night." Ethan never looked away from the baby. "What if she needs me?" "She will. But she also needs a father who is healthy." He shook his head. "I don't know how to do this without Amara." Evelyn rested a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to know everything today. You only have to love her. And I know you already do." Ethan looked at his daughter again. A single tear rolled down his cheek. "I'll never let her feel alone. I'll be both her father and everything else she needs." The years passed. Ethan kept every promise he could. He learned to braid hair by watching online videos. He packed school lunches. He attended dance recitals. He read bedtime stories even after exhausting workdays. He never missed a birthday. Never missed a doctor's appointment. Never forgot to tell Zoey that her mother had loved her before she was even born. Yet every night after Zoey fell asleep, the mansion felt painfully empty. One rainy evening, Evelyn watched her son staring at an old family photograph. "You've spent 8 years living only for your daughter." Ethan smiled sadly. "She deserves everything." "And what do you deserve?" He didn't answer. "You are still a young man," Evelyn continued softly. "Loneliness isn't strength. It's only loneliness." Ethan looked toward Zoey's bedroom upstairs. "I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of bringing the wrong person into her life." Evelyn nodded. "A woman can become your wife. But before that, she must become a safe place for your daughter." Ethan folded the photograph carefully. "I'll never let anyone hurt Zoey." He believed those words with all his heart. He had no idea that before long, someone would walk into the Harrison mansion wearing a maid's uniform and quietly change both of their lives forever. The Harrison mansion had always been busy. Gardeners trimmed the lawns before sunrise. Chefs prepared breakfast before the family woke. Housekeepers came and went, but none stayed for very long. After Mrs. Evelyn's longtime housekeeper retired because of old age, the estate manager began searching for a replacement. 3 weeks later, a young woman arrived at the front gate carrying a single worn suitcase. She wore a simple navy blue dress, neatly tied back natural hair, and carried herself with quiet confidence. Her name was Naomi Brooks. She wasn't nervous because of the interview. She was nervous because this job was her family's last hope. Her grandmother's medical bills had emptied every dollar they owned. She needed work immediately. The estate manager welcomed her inside. "Mr. Harrison doesn't care where people come from," he explained. "He only asks for honesty, hard work, and respect." Naomi smiled softly. "Those are things I can give." A few minutes later, she met Evelyn Harrison. The older woman studied her carefully. "You've worked in private homes before?" "Yes, ma'am." "And why did you leave?" "My previous employer moved overseas." Evelyn nodded. "You understand that my granddaughter comes before everything else." "I do. If she is frightened, you comfort her. If she is lonely, you listen. If she needs help, you help." Naomi answered without hesitation. Children should never feel invisible. For the first time that morning, Evelyn smiled. Naomi began work the following Monday. She quietly learned every corner of the mansion. She memorized the kitchen schedule, organized the library, folded laundry with perfect care. She never complained. She never interrupted anyone. She simply worked. That afternoon she heard a small sigh coming from the dining room. A little girl sat alone at the table surrounded by homework books. Her pencil rested motionless above the page. Naomi stopped. "Is everything all right?" The little girl looked up. "You must be the new maid." Naomi smiled. "I am. I'm Zoey." "I know. You do. Your grandmother talks about you every day." Zoey grinned. "I hope she says nice things." "Only nice things." The little girl's smile returned. Then she pushed the workbook across the table. "I think math hates me." Naomi looked down. "It doesn't hate you. It just wants someone to explain it differently." She pulled out a chair. "Hey, Zoey nodded. Naomi picked up 3 apples from the fruit bowl. "If 12 apples are shared equally among 3 friends, how many does each friend receive?" Zoey counted carefully. 4. Naomi smiled. "Exactly. Math isn't scary. Sometimes it just needs a new story." Within 20 minutes, Zoey had solved every problem on the page. "I did it." "You did. You hardly helped." Naomi laughed. "That's the best kind of help." That evening Ethan returned home after another exhausting day. As he walked through the dining room he noticed Zoey finishing her homework with unusual confidence. "I solved every question." "That's wonderful. Miss Naomi showed me a trick." Ethan looked toward Naomi. "Thank you." She lowered her head respectfully. "She solved them herself, sir. I only changed the way the questions looked." Ethan smiled politely before continuing upstairs. It was only a brief conversation, but Evelyn noticed something. Naomi hadn't tried to impress Ethan. She hadn't expected praise. She simply returned to polishing the dining table. Days turned into weeks. Without realizing it, Zoey began looking for Naomi every morning. They watered flowers together, read books in the library, made pancakes on Saturday mornings. When Zoey lost a spelling competition at school, Naomi didn't tell her to stop crying. Instead she sat beside her. "It hurts because you cared. That isn't weakness. It's courage." Zoey wiped away her tears. "My friends laughed. They laughed today. One day they'll clap for you. You decide which memory becomes stronger." For the first time since coming home, Zoey smiled. Late that evening Ethan watched from his office window. Outside in the garden, Naomi was helping Zoey plant tiny sunflower seeds. Both of them were covered in dirt. Zoey laughed so loudly that the sound echoed across the estate. Ethan hadn't heard his daughter laugh like that in months. His mother quietly entered the office. "You've been watching them for 10 minutes. Ethan smiled without turning around. "She seems happier." "She is." Evelyn folded her arms. "The question is, have you noticed who keeps putting that smile on her face?" Ethan remained silent. He watched Naomi gently brush dirt from Zoey's cheeks before they both burst into laughter again. For reasons he couldn't explain, the once empty mansion no longer felt quite so lonely. As the weeks passed, peace slowly returned to the Harrison mansion. Zoey laughed more often. Ethan worried less. Even Evelyn admitted the house felt warmer than it had in years. But that peace didn't last. One Friday evening Ethan returned home with unexpected news. The family gathered for dinner as he placed his briefcase beside his chair. "I have someone I'd like you all to meet tomorrow." Zoey looked up from her plate. "Who is it, Daddy?" Ethan smiled. "Her name is Victoria Steele. She's been helping me with a new business project." Evelyn quietly watched her son. "And she's become very important to me." Zoey didn't understand the meaning behind his words. She simply nodded. Naomi remained silent as she served dinner. She had learned never to involve herself in her employer's personal life. The following afternoon, a sleek black luxury car pulled into the mansion. Out stepped Victoria Steele. She wore an elegant cream-colored designer dress, expensive jewelry and a dazzling smile. She carried a beautifully wrapped gift. The moment Ethan welcomed her inside, she appeared warm and graceful. "You must be Zoey." Victoria knelt with a smile. "I've heard so many wonderful things about you." She handed Zoey the gift. Inside was a beautiful art set. "Thank you," Zoey said politely. Victoria gently stroked her hair. "I hope we become good friends." From across the room, Naomi quietly observed the interaction before returning to the kitchen. For the rest of the afternoon, Victoria behaved perfectly. He complimented the staff, praised Evelyn's cooking, laughed at Ethan's jokes. Anyone watching would have believed she was the perfect woman. But everything changed the moment Ethan received an urgent business call. "I'll be back in a few minutes." As soon as he walked outside, Victoria's smile disappeared. She glanced toward Naomi. "You?" Naomi stopped. "Yes, ma'am. My tea is cold. I'm sorry. I'll prepare another one immediately. And don't keep me waiting." Her voice had become cold, but nothing like the sweet tone she used with Ethan. Naomi simply nodded. "I'll bring it right away." Zoey noticed everything. She frowned. Only moments earlier Victoria had sounded kind. Now, he sounded like a completely different person. Later that evening, Zoey walked into the kitchen. Naomi was quietly washing dishes. "Miss Naomi." "Yes, sweetheart. Did Miss Victoria make you sad?" Naomi smiled gently. "No. Adults sometimes have difficult days." But she talked differently after Daddy left. Naomi dried her hands before kneeling beside Zoey. "You must never judge people from one moment. Give them time. Sometimes kindness takes longer to understand." Zoey nodded slowly. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. Over the next several weeks, Victoria visited more often. Whenever Ethan was nearby, she acted loving and thoughtful. She bought Zoey expensive toys. He hugged the staff. She praised Naomi's work. But whenever Ethan left the room, everything changed. She criticized Naomi over tiny mistakes. She complained about meals that everyone else enjoyed. She ordered staff around with unnecessary harshness. Still, Naomi never argued. She quietly did her work and treated everyone with respect. One afternoon, Zoey accidentally dropped a glass of orange juice. The drink spilled across the dining table. Before Naomi could grab a towel, Victoria sighed loudly. "I can't believe how careless you've become." Zoey looked confused. "I spilled it." Victoria forced a smile. "I know, sweetheart. I'm talking about the maid. If she had been paying attention, this wouldn't have happened." Naomi calmly cleaned the table. "I'm sorry." Zoey stared at her. She knew Naomi hadn't done anything wrong. That night, Zoey walked into Evelyn's room. "Grandma." "Yes, my dear. Can people pretend to be nice?" Evelyn looked at her carefully. "They can. But pretending is difficult. Eventually, the real person always appears." Zoey lowered her head. "I think Miss Victoria has two faces." Evelyn gently lifted the little girl's chin. "Never accuse someone without proof. But never ignore what your heart keeps noticing." Meanwhile, Victoria stood alone on the balcony, speaking quietly on her phone. A smug smile spread across her face. "The little girl doesn't like me." She laughed softly. "It doesn't matter. Ethan is already falling in love. Once we're married, the mansion, the businesses, everything will belong to me too." She ended the call and turned around. She didn't realize someone had just walked onto the balcony. A tiny figure froze behind the curtain. Zoey. She hadn't heard every word, but she had heard enough to make her heart pound. She quietly covered her mouth. Then she ran back inside, wondering if her father would ever believe what she had just discovered. Zoey barely slept that night. The words she had overheard echoed again and again in her mind. "Once we're married, everything will belong to me too." She wanted to tell her father immediately, but every time she tried, she remembered how happy he looked whenever Victoria was around. "What if Daddy thinks I'm lying?" she whispered to herself. The next morning, Ethan was preparing to leave for work. Victoria sat comfortably at the breakfast table, smiling as if nothing had happened. Naomi served everyone breakfast before quietly stepping away. Zoey stared at her plate. She wasn't hungry. Ethan noticed. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Zoey looked at Victoria, then back at her father. "Daddy, I need to tell you something." Victoria's smile froze for a split second. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Zoey took a deep breath. "I heard Miss Victoria talking on the phone." The room became silent. Victoria slowly placed down her coffee cup. "And what did you hear?" she asked sweetly. Zoey gathered her courage. She said, "After she marries you, Everything in this house will belong to her. Victoria let out a small laugh. Oh, Ethan. She's misunderstood. She turned toward Zoey. Sweetheart, I was joking with one of my friends. You know adults tease each other sometimes. But you weren't laughing, Zoey replied. You sounded serious. Victoria's expression softened. I think you're still afraid that I'll replace your mommy. I understand. Ethan reached for Zoey's hand. Sweetheart, sometimes we hear only part of a conversation. It's easy to misunderstand. Zoey slowly pulled her hand away. I didn't misunderstand. But Ethan kissed her forehead before leaving for work. We'll talk later. As the front door closed, Zoey felt her heart sink. He hadn't believed her. Later that afternoon, Victoria walked into the laundry room where Naomi was folding clothes. Without her usual smile, she crossed her arms. You've made quite an impression around here. Naomi looked up politely. I'm only doing my job. Really? Victoria stepped closer. Because everyone seems to think you're some kind of angel. I've never asked anyone to think that. Victoria picked up one of Ethan's expensive shirts. You should remember your place. My place is wherever my work needs me. Victoria smiled coldly. We'll see how long that lasts. She deliberately dropped the shirt into a bucket of bleach. The white fabric instantly became stained. Then she walked away. A few moments later, Ethan returned home. Victoria hurried toward him, holding up the ruined shirt. Ethan. I hate saying this. But I think Naomi has become careless. Ethan looked at the damaged shirt. This was one of my favorites. Victoria sighed dramatically. I told her to be more careful. Naomi stood quietly. She knew exactly what had happened. But she said nothing. Ethan looked disappointed. Naomi. This isn't like you. I'm sorry, sir. Those were the only words she spoke. From the hallway, Zoey had seen everything. She watched Victoria throw the shirt into the bleach. She watched Naomi accept the blame without defending herself. That evening, Zoey found Naomi watering flowers in the garden. Why didn't you tell Daddy the truth? Naomi smiled gently. Because arguing doesn't always reveal the truth. But she lied. I know. Then why let her win? Naomi looked at the small sunflower plants they had grown together. When someone plants lies, they eventually harvest them. The truth grows more slowly. But it always grows. Zoey stared at Naomi. For an 8-year-old, those words felt difficult to understand. Yet somehow, they made perfect sense. She made a silent promise to herself. If the truth needed time, then she would help it grow. She would watch carefully. She would remember everything. And when the time came, she would make sure her father finally saw the real Victoria Steele. A week passed. Victoria continued pretending to be the perfect woman whenever Ethan was around. But the moment he left for work each morning, her warm smile disappeared. She became impatient with the staff. Nothing anyone did was ever good enough. Naomi endured every insult without complaining. She refused to let Zoey see bitterness in her heart. One Saturday morning, Ethan gathered everyone in the living room. He looked happier than he had in years. I have an announcement. Zoey's heart began to race. Victoria reached for Ethan's hand. I've asked Victoria to marry me. She proudly showed everyone the sparkling diamond ring on her finger. We're planning an engagement dinner next month. The room fell silent. Evelyn forced a polite smile, but she noticed the sadness on Zoey's face. Naomi simply lowered her eyes. Congratulations, sir. Victoria smiled triumphantly. Thank you, Naomi. I know you'll help make everything perfect. That afternoon, Zoey locked herself inside her bedroom. She hugged the framed photograph of her late mother. Tears rolled down her cheeks. A soft knock came at the door. May I come in? It was Naomi. Zoey quickly wiped her eyes. You can come. Naomi sat beside her on the bed. You've been quiet all day. Daddy is making a mistake. Naomi remained silent. He doesn't see who Miss Victoria really is. My dear. Your father loves you very much. Then why won't he listen to me? Naomi gently held Zoey's little hand. Sometimes adults believe what they can see. So if you want someone to know the truth, you must show it with patience. Zoey looked into Naomi's eyes. I'll find a way. Meanwhile downstairs, Victoria stood in the kitchen speaking sharply to one of the cooks. "I told you I don't eat cold food." The elderly cook apologized. "I'm sorry, ma'am." Victoria rolled her eyes. "No wonder this house needs new people." Naomi quietly stepped forward. "I'll prepare another meal." Victoria looked at her. "You always have something to say." "No, ma'am. I simply don't want anyone else blamed." Victoria leaned closer. "After my wedding, I'll decide who stays in this house. You should start preparing to leave." Naomi answered calmly. "If Mr. Harrison asks me to leave, I will." Victoria smiled. "Oh, he will." Neither woman noticed that Evelyn had just entered the hallway. She didn't interrupt. She quietly turned around and walked away, deep in thought. That evening, Evelyn knocked on Ethan's office door. "May I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you completely certain about marrying Victoria?" Ethan looked surprised. "You don't approve?" "I didn't say that. I only want to know whether you've looked beyond her kindness." Ethan sighed. "Mother, I've spent 8 years alone. Victoria has been patient with me. And she says she loves Zoey." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Words are easy, Ethan. The difficult part is living them." The following afternoon, Zoey was searching for colored pencils in the study when she heard voices coming from the library. The door was slightly open. Victoria was inside with her close friend. Zoey quietly stopped. "I don't understand why you keep pretending," her friend whispered. Victoria laughed. "Because rich men don't fall in love with honesty. They fall in love with whatever makes them feel needed." "And the little girl?" Victoria shrugged. "Once Ethan and I are married, she'll eventually do what she's told." "And if she doesn't?" Victoria's smile disappeared. "Then boarding school exists for a reason." Zoey's eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth to stop herself from crying. This time, she had heard every single word. She quietly took out the small voice recorder her teacher had given the class for a school storytelling project. Her tiny hands trembled. She pressed the record button just before Victoria spoke again. "I didn't work this hard just to let a child or a maid stand between me and the Harrison fortune." Zoey's heart pounded. For the first time, he finally had proof. She clutched the recorder tightly and whispered to herself, "Daddy, now you'll believe me." The engagement dinner arrived sooner than anyone expected. The Harrison mansion sparkled under thousands of golden lights. Luxury cars filled the driveway. Business executives, close friends, and family members gathered to celebrate Ethan and Victoria's engagement. Every guest believed they were about to witness the beginning of a perfect new family. Only one person knew the truth. 8-year-old Zoey Harrison. She quietly held the small voice recorder inside her dress pocket. Her heart raced every time she touched it. Tonight, everything would change. Inside the ballroom, Ethan stood beside Victoria. She looked radiant in a stunning silver evening gown. She smiled confidently at every guest. Naomi and the household staff moved quietly through the room, serving dinner and drinks. As always, Naomi kept her eyes lowered. She wanted nothing more than to finish her work and disappear into the background. After dinner, Ethan raised a glass. "Thank you all for joining us tonight. These past 8 years have been difficult. But Victoria has brought happiness back into my life." The guests applauded warmly. Victoria smiled as though she had already become Mrs. Harrison. Then Ethan looked toward his daughter. "Zoey, I know this hasn't been easy for you. But I hope one day you'll accept Victoria as part of our family." Everyone turned toward the little girl. Zoey slowly stood. Her hands trembled. For a moment, no words came out. Victoria smiled sweetly. "Come here, sweetheart," they said. Zoey walked past her. She crossed the ballroom. She stopped beside Naomi. Then she gently held Naomi's hand. Gasps echoed across the room. Naomi looked horrified. "Pi dear. What are you doing?" Zoey turned toward her father. Tears filled her eyes. "Daddy, if you really want someone to become part of our family, please marry Miss Naomi." The ballroom fell into complete silence. Victoria's face turned bright red. "Enough," she shouted. "This child has embarrassed me for the last time." Zoey didn't move. She looked only at her father. "You asked me to give Miss Victoria a chance. I did. I listened. I watched. And I found the truth. Victoria laughed nervously. She's only a child. She imagines things. Zoey slowly reached into her pocket. No. I remembered them. She held up the small recorder. I recorded what Miss Victoria said. Victoria's smile vanished. Her eyes widened. What? Zoey walked to the sound technician. My teacher showed me how to connect this to speakers. Can you please help me? The technician looked at Ethan. Ethan nodded silently. A few seconds later, Victoria's own voice echoed through the ballroom. Once Ethan and I are married, she'll eventually do what she's told. Another voice asked. And if she doesn't? Victoria answered without hesitation. Then boarding school exists for a reason. The room became silent. Then the recording continued. I didn't work this hard just to let a child or a maid stand between me and the Harrison fortune. Several guests gasped. One woman covered her mouth. Another slowly shook his head. Victoria's face turned pale. That's been edited. Zoey looked at her father. I didn't edit anything. I only told the truth. Ethan couldn't speak. Everything his daughter had tried to tell him suddenly made sense. Every warning. Every tear. Every disappointment. He had ignored them all. Victoria desperately grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan. She's manipulating you. Before Ethan could answer, Evelyn stepped forward. No. The only person who has been manipulating anyone is you. Victoria looked around the room. No one believed her anymore. She turned and glared at Naomi. This is your fault. Naomi quietly shook her head. I never wanted any of this. Victoria laughed bitterly. You think you've won? Naomi answered softly. This was never a competition. Victoria stormed out of the ballroom, pushing past stunned guests as the massive doors slammed behind her. Silence filled the room. Ethan slowly walked toward his daughter. He knelt in front of her. Tears filled his eyes. I'm so sorry, Zoey. I should have believed you. Zoey threw her arms around his neck. I wasn't trying to stop you from being happy, Daddy. I just didn't want someone to hurt you. Ethan held his daughter tightly. Then he looked toward Naomi. She was quietly trying to slip away unnoticed. Naomi. She stopped. Yes, sir. For months. You protected my daughter. You protected this family. And you never asked for anything in return. Naomi lowered her eyes. I only did what I believed was right. For the first time, Ethan saw her not as an employee, but as the woman whose kindness had quietly healed the broken pieces of his home. The ballroom slowly emptied. The guests left in silence, still talking about what had happened. Ethan asked Naomi to stay behind. She stood quietly, unsure why he wanted to speak with her. Naomi, Ethan said softly, I owe you an apology. You protected Zoey when I failed to see the truth. Naomi smiled gently. You don't owe me anything, sir. Zoey is a wonderful child. Anyone would have cared for her. Ethan shook his head. Not everyone would. At that moment, little Zoey ran over and held Naomi's hand. I told you Daddy would finally see. Naomi laughed through tears. I never wanted him to choose me. I only wanted your family to be happy. Months passed. Without pressure or expectations, Ethan and Naomi spent more time together. Their friendship slowly became love. One sunny afternoon in the garden, Ethan knelt on one knee. Naomi Brooks. You healed a home that was broken. Will you marry me? Naomi wiped away happy tears. Yes. Zoey jumped with excitement. I knew it. I knew it. A year later, the Harrison family stood together for a new family portrait. This time, Naomi wasn't standing at the edge like a maid. She stood beside Ethan as his wife. Zoey hugged them both tightly. Looking at the camera, she smiled and said, I didn't lose a mother. I gained one. The photographer captured the moment forever. And for the first time in many years, the Harrison family was truly complete.